In this video, we're going to talk about the break statement and the continue statement. First, we'll start with the break statement, and I'll start with saying that using the break statement in the way I'm going to show you here, it's not a very good programming standard or practice to follow. Here we're showing you how to use the break statement to jump out of a loop before the condition is false. We create loops with a condition because the condition is what we really want the loop to end on. So using a break statement to jump out of it, it's just not a good practice. And as you can see in this example, which is a pretty simple example here, but to loop that's supposed, based on the condition, we'll loop with value starting at 0 up to as long as it's less than 10, so 10 times it will loop. But you tell it in the middle there with the if statement, when the value equals 5, you do a break. And what the break does, it means it jumps out of the while loop, breaks out of that loop at 5. So this will always just execute 5 times, right? That's for 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So you never get anywhere to 6, 7, 8, and 9, right? So it's kind of silly to create a while loop that can go up to 10, but the whole condition of the thing will never get that far. So again, just bad practice, but that's what's going to happen here. It executes the while, comes in, checks the value. Okay, it's not 5 yet. Boom, outputs the value. As soon as value is 5, it hits the break statement, and then it jumps. Oops, sorry about that. Jumps all the way down to the end of the while loop and continues from this point forward. Right, so it's just a way to get out of a loop. It's not a good practice. People have done different ways of doing that. I'm just going to run this to show you that. Using the break statement to get out in certain conditions, which is, like I said, not a good practice to do. Right, and you see here on the output that it just ran 0 to 4. No matter how many times I run it, you're going to get the exact same output. One thing, I'll come back to this with the break in a second, but to continue, I really don't have to change much here. I can put the continue statement there with the same problem, except now what happens is it's just basically going to skip 5. Alright, so if the value is 5, continue means skip the rest of the loop and come back to the top of the loop and continue from there. In this case, it's always going to stay at 5 because of the increment being down in here. So we'll change it just a little bit and put the increment up here at the top so it's constantly, as opposed, changing value as it goes along. Right? If I didn't do that, this would just become an infinite loop where it just keeps skipping because it would never change off of 5. Right. And so you should see that it just skips 5 on the outputs and gives you the rest of the values. And this is what we see here. It does 1, 2, 3, 4, then goes to 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright. So the continue is that could be useful. You're just skipping a certain values or a range of values, whatever you set up the if statement to be in this example, right, to skip. The loop does not end, it just simply skips one iteration or at least part of the iteration. There can be code above this if statement that get executed, but once it hits this if, it stops and doesn't do anything else after it. Alright, let's go back to the break statement just to show you a very bad practice I've seen some people do. Now you can intentionally create a infinite loop here because they don't want to think about how to actually end this loop, and put a condition in here as to when they want to end the loop. It works, yes, but is it the best way to do it? No. You're creating an infinite loop here. That's just bad practice. You're using a break statement to get out of a loop. That's another bad practice. Right. Like I said, it does work. This does not change much in the way it runs. The program does terminate even though that is an infinite loop, and you get the exact same results. So I took the condition out of the loop to make it an infinite loop, bad thing, but I put in code to get out. So my belief is that a lot of students that can't figure out exactly how to cause the loop to end properly. There are many ways to get around that. Right? As you gain experience, you'll see that, but try to avoid those situations.